I'm going to start my argument in 3, 2, 1. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The honored educators and my fellow debaters from the government bench. My name is Avrillo and Leandro as the Speaker of Opposition bench for today's motion. I'm from Universitas Muhammadiyah Surakarta. So for today's debate, we're going to focusing on one motion that has already stated by the government bench, which is this House would prioritize Quranic environmental ethics in national development. Okay, so first of all, let me begin by stating that we on the side of the opposition share the government's deep concern for our planet's health. Of course, they have eloquently laid out the profound Quranic principles of Khalifah, or as you may call it, stewardship, mizan, or as you call it, balance, and the last one is amanah, or trust. And we agree, these values are not just ideals, they are moral obligations. However, where we fundamentally diverge is not what or why, but on the how. The government's entire case rests on a single, dangerously simplistic policy proposal, which is to prioritize these environmental ethics above all else. I'm, as the opposition bench, would like to give you a path of today's debate, which is this debate is not about whether we should be green, but this debate is about what a just and truly Quranic development looks like. Therefore, our stance is very clear, which is we reject the government's model of absolute prioritization because it creates false choice between protecting the planet and protecting the poor. We will prove that this model is not only unjust, but also ineffective. Instead, we will champion a more holistic vision of integration where environmental sustainability and social justice are pursued as inseparable, co-equal mandates of our faith. Okay, so let's deep dive into the analysis of the government case. We already know that government giving us building a beautiful three-story of arguments based on Khalifah, Maqasid Sharia, and institutional reform. But the foundation of that house is flawed. The first one is on Khalifah. They already present a narrow and incomplete picture of stewardship. Yes, we are stewards of the earth. But the Quran reminds us time and time again that our primary stewardship is our fellow human being. A policy that saves a river but displays a village, a policy that protects the forest but starves a family is not a success of Khilafah or Khalifa. It is a failure to understand its holistic nature. Their concept of mizan is also similarly incomplete. True balance is not just ecological. It must also be socio-economic. Their policy states or creates a massive imbalance by forcing the most vulnerable to carry the heaviest burden. And the second one is about the Maqasid Sharia. They already correctly identify the protection of life, which is hifz an-nafs, as a key objective, but they apply it selectively only on the long-term effect, abstract threat of environmental degradation. So let me ask you a question. What about the immediate, tangible threat to the life and property? Nafs and mal of a father who loses his job because the factory he works at is shutting down overnight due to new, stringent environmental regulations. What about the future or nafs of the children who can no longer afford education? A truly maqasid compliant policy must balance all 5 objectives, not sacrifice the immediate well-being of the poor for a singular environmental goal. And finally, the third one and the last one is the third point about institutional reform. We agree, yes, we agree that reform is needed, but their model of prioritization is not reform. It is a blunt instrument. It risks creating policies so economically painful that they trigger massive social and political backlash, which ironically ends up harming and delegitimizing the environmental movement itself. So, what's the alternative that me from the opposing bench would like to give on today's debate? Well, our case is built upon a principle that the government's case conveniently overlooks, which is the Quranic mandate of social justice or adl. Our assertion is the policy of absolute prioritization is fundamentally unjust because it disproportionately punishes the poor for a crisis they are least responsible with. The Quran, Surah An-Nahl, verse 90 stated that, indeed, Allah commands justice, grace, as well as generosity to close relatives. He forbids indecency, wickedness, and aggression. He instructs you to, perhaps you will be mindful. It commands us to uphold justice and insan. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, dedicated his life to defending the weak and marginalized. How can we then support a policy framework that in practice places the heaviest burden environmental action on the shoulders of the poor? The reasoning is simple. Economics. Green policies have costs. Carbon taxes increase the price of fuel and basic goods. Shutting down industries leads to job losses. These costs are a minor inconvenience for the affluent, but they are a catastrophe for the low-income families. Honorable educators, the government has asked you to make a choice. We on the other side to tell you that it is a false choice. We do not have to choose between a clean planet and a just society. A true Quranic path is not one of prioritization, but of integration. It is a path of innovation in green technology that creates jobs. It is a path of empowering communities, not displacing them. The government's case, though well-intentioned, is a case for a green world built on the backs of the poor, or case for a world that is both green and just. That's it for me. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.